Spoiler alert, the following podcast includes discussions on film that may potentially, intentionally or inadvertently, reveal plot twists, character traits, story details, up to and including endings that might otherwise be considered spoilers. Proceed at your own risk.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
What do you see in my eyes?
Death.
It all sounds like some bad movie.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, what's happening out there in Radio Land?
It's not a radio. Moviesucktastic land.
You always got to tell me that. It's whatever we want it to be.
I don't mean to burst your bubble, sir.
It's the future. It's the future. This is how everyone talked in these Lugosi movies you're making me watch. The
Supernatural.
future.
Supernatural, perhaps. Radio, perhaps not.
Perhaps not. You are saying something profound.
Yes. Excuse me, I should have muted for that. Welcome to Moviesucktastic, and yes, we are doing more Lugosi.
Yeah, we are.
You didn't enjoy these? All right.
I did. I did enjoy them.
These were a little harder to get through, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll give you that much.
They're a little longer.
A little longer, a little more comedic padding. Both of them very unnecessary where it is. Very unfunny where it is.
I'm complaining about them being longer, but they're an hour and 15 minutes. It's still a 2 hour and 15 minute bad movie, technically, for me.
The two we're reviewing this this week are Dracula's Daughter, 1936, and Murders in the Rue Morgue from 32.
Correct, yes.
I'll grant you, Rue Morgue feels longer than it is.
Yes, it really does.
Yeah, and that's, well, we'll get into that. But which one did you want to cover first, sir?
Yeah, I figured Dracula's Daughter first. I watched that one first, but I thought it was, ironically enough, the worse of the two films. And we tend to go a little longer on the first film we do anyway.
Really? You thought Dracula's Daughter was worse of the two?
Well, I say that because I found Rue Morgue funnier.
Shame on you.
I did. Wow, I can't frame this right at all. All right, there we go. Now we're cooking. All right, so I got Dracula's Daughter on first. Now, yeah, I mean, the whole thing that I find with these movies is a couple of things. One, people literally get away with murder. I mean, like, someone gets killed and they just, like, leave the body, and it's, like, no big deal. So, obviously not being born in that time period, is this just a much bigger, what's the term I'm looking for? Suspension of disbelief, like on like a grander scale.
Well, look at it this way: they didn't have forensic evidence back then.
Well, of course not.
They had like whodunits. You had to suss out who the guy was, and then invite them to dinner with a bunch of other people and make them confess. Other than that, they had nothing to go on. There's no there's no DNA. There's no semen. There's no I don't even think fingerprints at this point are that popular. Maybe a fad. So unless they find you.
Yeah, it was probably one of those. Like, are you telling me everyone's are different? That's not possible. Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
What, like snowflakes? Come on.
Those aren't even different. They all look the same. Like, you're not getting it.
Well, when we get into Rue Morgue, we actually do have forensic at work.
That's
solving
right.
The murder. So that's an interesting parallel I made there, and that kind of blows me out of the water. But again, it's like this weird thing, and there's a lot of like weird stuff in Murders of the Rue Morgue as far as like being for the time period of the film wacky. So
in Rue Morgue, I love it when he's looking at drawings of blood cells. Mm-hmm. It's like, this drawing looks like this drawing. It's obviously a match. It's like, wait a minute.
And you know how hard it is to make the blood cells stay still for those drawings, too? I must draw you.
It's like, what, they couldn't get Disney on set for this? Even just a little bit?
Well, this all leads into the beginning of Dracula's daughter. Now, if I may give a quick backstory on this, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with Dracula's daughter.
Yeah, you mentioned this to me last week, off air, about, I think, what you're going to get into about Lugosi being on set, but go ahead.
Well, even before that, I mean,
really?
This is why in my book on Lugosi, performed by Lugosi, you can find it on Amazon. In my book on films starring Lugosi, this movie is included specifically because Lugosi's not in it
at all. Not even like in a flashback or anything. The movies are 5 years removed between Dracula and this. It's 5 years. That's it.
Right.
Lugosi's still huge movie star at this point.
Now, it's even further removed when you consider that the original film takes place in the 19th century, and then this film takes place in the 1930s.
Yeah.
So there's a big leap there. Then the films are 5 years apart. Now, the studio was undergoing a lot of trouble at the time. I'm horrible at pronouncing their names. Lamels. I'm really bad with names. But they ran the studio. It was like a family-run studio.
Okay.
And there was this movie came out. This is the last film they produced because they were ousted by the shareholders after this.
Okay. Oh, okay.
They had a lot of films coming out that were flopping. There was a lot of again, the censorship codes rising up against horror films. They were causing it with their films, and so this is Dracula's daughter is a perfect example of like a water world on a smaller scale. It was supposed to be a low budget cash in on the Dracula name. It went vastly over budget. The initial director they paid up front was like a pay or play option, and then he ended up having to leave before they even started filming. So they had to hire another director to do the film.
Oh my god!
They had to abandon screenplays. They kept changing everything around. The film is supposed to be based on the short story Dracula's Guest, which there's weirdness around that too. Which was technically a prequel to Dracula. And supposedly the first chapter of the novel that was that was cut out before they released it, I call bullshit on that. We can talk about that later if we have time. But basically the film...
What?
Shut up. Basically, film way over budget, all this stuff. And then once the film was done, the Lamels were kicked out. So there's all that right on top of it. That's all to start with. Then you got Lugosi. Now... I know we haven't talked about the film yet, but since you mentioned it, I'm going to get it out of the way right now.
I find this stuff to be more interesting than the actual film. I mean, we'll get to the film. There's no question about it. But stuff like what you're about to talk about, what you're about to say, I find way more interesting.
Because I am saying something profound.
Profound.
I'm just checking my notes for numbers because I'm not a numbers guy like you are off the top of my head. But I'm checking my source material here, which would be my book.
Wow, that's a lot of notes in there.
Lugosi. Now, the fact is, Lugosi was paid for the film.
Okay.
All right, he was paid $4,000. Where a lot of the
for Dracula's daughter that he didn't appear in.
He was paid $4,000. Now, the official story that you'll see most places you read say that he was paid to advertise the film. They paid him $4,000.
Wow.
A lot of money for Lugosi to not appear in a film.
Sure.
That's the story.
I'm looking at the budget. I'm looking at the budget for this film. Even though we're in 2015, this movie is almost 80 years old. This seems like a very high budget to me for 1936. The budget budget was $278,000. That seems like a lot of money for the time period to make a movie.
Like I said, the director, Sutherland, they paid him $17,500 to direct the film, but the way his contract was, he left before they even started filming. So they had to pay another director $5,000 to finish, to actually do the film.
Wow.
There's over $25,000 right there. Here's where it gets interesting for me, because this whole thing about Lugosi, they paid him $4,000 to do promotional advertising for the film. Okay, but he's not in the movie. He's not on the movie posters. Even more interesting, the film takes place right where Dracula ends. We find Van Helsing. The Harkins are gone.
Right.
Harkers, sorry. Whatever the fuck their name is. They're gone. Van Helsing's hanging around with the body. The cops find him and two corpses, Dracula's and Renfield's. There's Dracula's daughter, Madame. Stupid name too, and not the same name from the short story either. Gloria
Holden.
Well, that's the actress, Contessa Zaleska.
Oh yeah.
She's Dracula's daughter. She grabs she steals the body and then destroys it because she thinks that might make her human again. And there's a brief you get a brief shot of the coffin, and Lugosi's not in it. Instead, they have a really bad plaster caricature of him that they don't even hover on. It's like a split second. If you have to freeze frame it, that you can get a good look at it.
Yeah, they only go on it so you can see the stake in his heart. That's it.
Right. So why would you pay him $4,000 to promote the film and not even put him in the film for a cutaway shot of him in a casket?
I don't know.
And this goes back to our former discussion about how they didn't like him, how he could be kind of arrogant, and to make matters worse. And let me I have to check my notes again for the actual time here. During pre-production for Dracula's Daughter, he went to MGM and did a film called The Devil Bat.
Okay, which I initially thought was the film you wanted me to help you review this week, because you initially called this The Devil's Daughter or Devil Daughter.
That was a typo on the phone, yeah.
And I was like, "There's no film called Devil Daughter. There's a film called Devil Bat." I was like, maybe that's the one.
Blame my autocorrect. Yeah. So at this point in time, he's an iconic figure for Universal. He goes to MGM and does the film with what they consider at this point their property, his face, Lugosi, and he does a film with Bat in the title.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're doubly pissed off. So my theory is that they were contractually obliged. They'd already signed the check for the $4,000, and they're like, fuck you. You're not even in the film. You'll do promotional for it, but we're done with you. But again, showing
how do you do promotional for something in the 30s? You get on the fucking radio. Well, how do you promote something then?
Promotional stills, newspapers, things like that. Yeah, radio. Yeah, I know you're not doing the night circuit. I get that. Yeah, but
they're just taking pictures of him or using stock photos of him as Dracula.
I get. Yeah, I mean, if
they got to pay him for that. I didn't think they would have had to pay him for that.
If you exactly, why would you even pay him to walk around? I'm Dracula. That's how ridiculous that whole story is.
Can you imagine this story, present day with social media and everything? It's just how ridiculous it would sound.
The first time I ever read that, I was like, "There's no fucking way they paid him $4,000 to promote the film and not put him in." So that's a lot of craziness right there, and that's one of the reasons why I love this film. It's just the fact that he's not in it. Now, you mentioned Gloria Holden. She plays Dracula's daughter.
Right.
Gloria Holden did not want to be in the film. She did not like the idea. She does not like horror films. She was against it, but against her better judgment, she starred in the film.
You know what's interesting about her? Seeing her as a young woman, where the men in the film are fawning over her, I just immediately can see what she looks like as an 80-year-old woman. She just has that face where it's like, I can tell what you look like when you're old. And what you just said about her not being in the film, not being a horror film, it just... Not that people have to like horror films, but when you have that kind of mentality, I just picture just old. just I don't like those kind of films because I'm so out of touch and I'm so old. You're making this face.
I don't understand. But
you don't understand. I'm just saying.
I think it's sexist. That's all.
I would say the same thing if it was an old man. if I thought a guy, she just looks old to me. She just has this face where I know what she looks like when she's 80.
All right.
You don't find that kind of weird?
I just have nothing to add to that. That's all.
I don't know. I'm just looking at her now. I'm just like, yeah, she probably looks the same when she's 80. Just a few more wrinkles. Probably that same mentality.
The big thing about her performance is that she doesn't blink. I think she blinks once in the entire film.
One time, huh?
Yeah. So that's it's interesting. It's a nice gimmick, but I liked her performance in the film. I mean, this is a very feminist film too. Speaking of sexism, it really. I mean, if you look at the character, she's this woman who doesn't want to be what she is. She's like this creature of the night. She doesn't want to be a vampire, and so she's trying to. She destroys her father's corpse. And she's trying to find a cure. She goes to the psychiatrist. Oh, maybe you can help. And she really just wants to be human.
Right.
So it's a kind of an endearing character. And putting her in you can think of it kind of like a woman trying to get out of this out of the time period. This kind of captive female presence in a male-dominated society. And well,
take Bela Lugosi's Dracula, or any man that plays Dracula. They're always this strong, very pheromone-like character where they just attract. It doesn't have to necessarily be female. It's just like you're just drawn to them. Well, I think that's what they were trying to accomplish with this film.
Oh no,
with her,
definitely. Yeah, vampires have always been a very sexual. Everything from the hypnotic gaze to the biting of the bare neck and changing of fluids. A very sexually charged mythological figure. I'll give you that, definitely.
And I think that's why later on in the film, the one girl that she brings back to her place to pose for her, to paint, she has her get right down to her blouse. And
the water is cold. I know a place where there's warmth and food and money. Sandor! We'll talk about Sandor in a minute. Yeah, well, and that brings the whole kind of homosexual, lesbian, bisexual aspect of it into it as well. And you can even see, so part of the film, as you can see, is maybe a metaphor for homosexuals living underneath the radar in a very strict moral society, pseudo-moral society as well. Even when, like, you have that... damn it! Talk about that jumps me to a different character. Let me finish with this. Yes, I mean, but unlike the other vampires you're talking about, the very dominant males, she's not a weak character. She's not a submissive female, but she's not happy in her role. She can still control men and women, anybody she wants, really, except Sandor apparently. But she's not comfortable with it. She's not reveling in her power. And so there's a conflict of interest there. And again, you could take that as a metaphor for a woman who doesn't want to exist as a sexual being. She wants to be who she really is. I mean, you could take it that way. You can definitely read into it on a number of levels from a feminist standpoint or a homosexual standpoint. You've got a lot of that going there. In sharp contrast, which defines that feminist standpoint, is the hero of the film, Jeffrey Garth, played by Otto Kruger, who was kind of top billed for the movie. Talk about an asshole. Psychiatrist. The first scene we see him in, he talks about shooting women.
Right.
Remember, because he's complaining about, you don't have to deal with these women in New York City that are always, complaining and whinging about stuff. So you're not here to shoot, here to shoot some pigeon. You're here to shoot some
quail.
Pigeons.
Pigeons?
Yeah, there's a couple I'd like to shoot in New York, but without feathers. I would like to kill my whiny female patients.
Give me a cigar and some whiskey now.
And then his secretary pulls up, who's this, kowtowing little mincing female parody of a secretary who he constantly berates and just harasses and yells at and barks orders at constantly through the film. This man personifies the egotistical, chauvinistic male.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
That was completely accepted and almost encouraged in the time period.
Well, yeah, he's our leading man. I mean, and obviously, I think on the level, they obviously did this on purpose to contrast him against Dracula's daughter, Zaleska. It's too blatant to be accidental. I have to give these film writers credit for that. And he's a bad psychiatrist. Can we get rid of that up front?
Oh yeah, he's terrible.
The one part of the party. So what we do with an alcoholic? We put him in a room with a bottle of alcohol. You what? and we don't let him drink it for hours on end.
And we let them face it. It's like, face it head on. It's like, wow, you're terrible.
I quote Bela from last week. Yes, I like torture.
I like to torture.
And so Zaleska here is just like, oh really? So you make them face what they want the most, and then that's how you cure it? Says, well, yeah. Oh, good. Let me go find a woman and get her half dressed in my apartment and see if I can avoid drinking her blood. Oh, I couldn't do it.
Oh, I thought you were going a different way with that one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I sure did.
And so she's getting all this bad advice from this chauvinistic psychiatrist quack bastard. And then you've got Sandor. Every film that we're reviewing for Lugosi has a sidekick or a henchman in it. And Sandor is my favorite.
No, he's great.
Now,
I especially like his delivery.
Oh.
Like, whoa, she's like, what do you see when you look at me? I see death.
No, just he's a death.
Does he just say death?
Death, yes.
Death.
And he's got his lips. He got that weird thing with his lips that looks like he's pursing at all times. I posit that he backs up my feminist standpoint of the film too. If you look at him, he's a very big guy, but with the way he's got his hair waxed down flat and like the loose blousey kind of clothing he wears, he's almost like a man that wants in on the female angle. In a weird way. But metaphors and feminism aside, Sandor is human, but he wants to be a vampire.
Didn't that actor play an American Indian in a movie in his career at one point? Because they basically use nothing but white people to play Native Americans. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He was in The Most Dangerous Game. I'm pretty sure he didn't play an Indian in that, though. Off the top of my head, I don't recall. I'd have to cheat and look.
I'll look.
But I don't... Maybe just Google his name in Indian. And he's the best henchman because, again, he's this vampire's right-hand person. He wants to be evil. He wants to be a vampire. And Zaleska doesn't want to be. And he keeps edging her away from wanting the cure. So, he helps her get her father's corpse and helps her burn it and stuff. But then later on, he's like, it's not going to happen. You're gonna. My favorite part of the whole film is when she starts playing the piano. It's like, no, this is going to be different. This night's going to be different. I'm going to see the sunrise. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to play the song. And I wish I'd given you a clip to play for that. But I'm going to bring something up. You find that Indian thing?
Hard working on it right now.
Oh, hard working? Okay.
Hard working on it.
But so she's playing the piano and she's trying to get into this mood of, everything's going to be better now. Everything's going to be happy. It's all going to work out. And she's like, oh, yeah, this is the cradle song. My mother sang this song to me. She'd rock me to sleep while she sang it in the twilight. Twilight. Like, quiet, you disturbed me. Twilight, long shadows on the hillside. Evil shadows. No, peaceful shadows. Fluttering of wings. The wings of bats. It's almost like a Saturday Night Live skit. It's like darkly. He just keeps countering with evil imagery. I think what really defines him as a character, if you were paying close attention, in the beginning, when they steal Dracula's corpse and drag out in the woods, and she performs this ritual and they set it on fire, she also makes a cross with her hand, like two sticks. And she looks away when she does it. And Sandor looks away too.
Yeah, I did notice that. That scene actually just was on.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't have to look away.
Yeah, he's not a vampire.
He wants to look away. He's like, that's how evil I want to be. I'm not even going to look at the cross.
I feel shame.
So he's just like, he's probably the most, now he's the most unfaithful henchman that we'll see in all four of these Lugosi films, but he is the most true to the cause. He is purely evil.
He sure is. Yeah, I couldn't find anything about him playing an American Indian anywhere. So,
okay, so
I guess it was an actor that kind of looked like him.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I mean, the only problem is Zaleska falls for what's his name's character?
Oh,
I lost my page. Otto Kruger's character, Jeffrey Garf. She falls for Jeffrey, the psychiatrist, and she's got this affection for him, and he comes between her and Sandor. And at the end, she kidnaps his secretary, and again, talk about like the ultimate chauvinistic, abusive husband, just nonstop abusive as her. But then all of a sudden, it's like, oh no, but I love her. Don't hurt her. Dude, really? You love her? It's I didn't mean to hurt her. Come on.
Even after she makes all the phony phone calls, the next day she's at the office packing up, giving her letter of resignation. He's like, accepted. And then she goes, are you to blame for me being up all night? He goes, that's right. I told the operator to call you every half hour on the hour. It's like, whoa, what a dick. She called you. She made a prank call once.
Blatantly abusive physically and emotionally, psychologically. Then the minute she's taken away from him, but I love her.
Yeah.
Classic,
or even to end that scene, the girl from the night before that she kidnaps to pose and ends up abducting and biting her neck. She's at the hospital and they call him and they say, oh, she's here. Come look at her. And he's like, come on, get your pad. And she's like, no, I'm leaving. Remember, I resigned. And he's like, come on. And she goes just willingly. He's like, let's go. It's like, I thought I was leaving. No, guess not.
Yeah, classic abusive relationship. And then he's kind of fallen for the strong woman because she's kind of like a man in that way, and it's somebody I can understand. But of course, he loves the stupid secretary because he can slap her around. And at the end, she said, I'll trade her life for yours. She wants to turn him into a vampire, and that pisses Sandor off the no end because he's been the lackey for long enough that he wants in. So he actually kills. Oh, spoiler alert! She actually kills Zaleska, then goes to kill Jeffrey, but the cops get there in time. The Keystone cops get there in time.
Right. Yeah, he pissed off the Sandor. He's like, whoa, what about me? To bite my neck? It's like, I'm like your fucking loyal servant here. Come on.
But I just love the fact he just turns 100% on her. It's not, he doesn't even like kill Jeffrey first and try to make amends. It's like, no, fuck you. I can be evil without the vampire thing. It just would have been cooler. That's all.
Would have got more chicks.
The one character that we haven't been talking about is the only actor that's in this film from Dracula, which is Edward Van Sloan, who plays Von Helsing.
Von Helsing.
Yes, and it's an interesting. Like you watch the first film, he's very manic, very excited. This film, he's very sedate.
Oh,
which at first seems like very odd, but the more I watched this film over and over and over again, it made sense to me that this guy who was like very manic and caught up in this whole thing about vampires and stuff, it's like he proves his life theory right. They kill him, and now he's like, I did it. Oh yeah, whatever. He's facing the death penalty. He's like, whatever. You know what? Oh really? I was a vampire. I'd call this guy. He'll help out. Not a care in the world. He's like, I just killed a fucking vampire. Go ahead, put me in jail.
Well, and the thing is, too, they said, well, I don't think we're going to be able to convict him. There's no body. So it's like...
that back, yeah.
Well, it's like nobody took a picture. I know pictures existed, obviously. It's like, how about you take a picture at some point of the body to prove that it existed? Oh, no, let's not do that. Because now that the body's gone, this guy, it's like he didn't do anything.
To be fair, I don't think they counted on anybody stealing the body. To be fair. That's why they had a guard posted to prevent them. They didn't know that he was in the hypnotized.
Sure, we can be fair and say that, but you know what? Procedure's fucking procedure. You're going to take a picture at some point. How about right now?
They caught the guy with the corpse. What do you need a picture for? All we need is the corpse.
Uh-huh.
There's a flaw to that, mind you.
There's no way you could sell that. And my argument of taking a picture immediately is going to go away. It's just not going to happen.
Here's my wish. They remake Dracula's daughter, but she's just like in the background, but you make it a court film. And it's the whole court trial. It's all the Van Helsing's trial. I want to see the evidence put up there. That would be great.
It's interesting you say that because I've always thought that was fascinating. Doing something like that. Like, from the very, very beginning, I always thought that it would be awesome, and this is totally off topic, but it's just in conjunction with what you said about the court trial, that the last season of Dexter would be like the court trial. Like, that would be the whole final season, with flashbacks to, like, how he got caught, and the murders and finding new evidence, and like 80% of it would be a court trial and with flashbacks and things like that. I was like that'd be cool if they did that, because in that show they were always kind of pointing you in the direction of, is he going to get caught? When is he going to get caught? How is he going to get caught? And I just thought maybe it'd be cool if he did get caught and they actually have a trial.
When they teased. When they had that brief tease of them possibly doing another season of Breaking Bad that was a hoax, my first thought was, great, it's going to be the trial. If he survived, then that would be awesome. I mean, but it didn't happen. But I mean, I think it would be interesting. And then in the background, you could have Sandor and Zelensky flitting around, whatever. But the main focus would be Von Helsing.
Sure.
Maybe they call Zaleska like as a character witness near the end.
Total shock, surprise. Just all the everything just has to be at night.
and as far as
or cloudy days. It's going to rain today. Let's have a trial.
As far as Zaleska being a crafty villain too, Sandor I think did all the heavy lifting. He's the one procuring bodies for her. When she meets the psychiatrist, she even tips her hand at the beginning. She's like, your friend would probably think you should be aware of me because I don't have any mirrors in my house. She says, oh, really? I hadn't noticed.
Well, because that was the first thing he said to her. He goes, you're the first, does he say dame? I don't know. You're the first dame I've ever met that doesn't have a million mirrors.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And it only hits him later when Van Helsing says, you'll know when you meet this person, they won't have any mirrors.
Right. But it's worse because she doesn't try to distract them from that. She's like, well, your friend would probably warn you against me then because, they don't have reflections. It's like, why are you mentioning that?
Yeah. What are you, a moron?
Well, but again, part of it's a self-destructive tint of hers. She doesn't want to be a vampire. So in some way, she wants to be found out. She's trying to reveal herself to him, I guess. So that does make a little sense, but still. And again, this guy's, I don't know, not a likable character. He makes Jimmy Stewart in Vertigo look like Alan Alda. He's really not a nice guy.
Oh no, not at all.
Definitely a feminist piece, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I don't have too much else. I mean, I spent a lot really on the production aspect of the film. Oh, let me mention very briefly my thing. I mentioned before, Dracula's Daughter is supposed to be an adaptation of the short story Dracula's Guest.
You mentioned that.
Pardon me, right. Supposedly, that was supposed to be the first chapter of Dracula, but it was removed from the book. I call bullshit on that. There are some literary archivists, whatever you call them, that would agree with me.
Well, what evidence do they have? Just hearsay?
As far as I can tell, because I'm not a scholar, I just read the shit for fun. As far as I can tell, what I've seen is that Dracula, Bram Stoker's widow, is the one who came forward supposedly and said this was supposed to be part of the original manuscript. Going through all of his notes, manuscript notes and drafts and revisions and everything, there's no mention of it. It was written by him, but what some people believe now, and I agree with, is that it was actually a short story written earlier in his career that he didn't do anything with, and then later based the book on it, the idea.
Okay, I think that makes more sense.
There's very little. There's no reference to the book in the short story and vice versa. There's nothing really in common with it. It just doesn't make any sense. So and also there's I'll put a link for this on the website. There is a remember I mentioned before this one guy, he gets all these original screenplays and reprints them. Mm-hmm. He's got one for Dracula's Daughter, and I want to get the name of this. And I fucking lost it. I'll find it again. But originally, the original screenplay, they couldn't afford in the first place. There was supposed to be a prologue that shows how Zaleska became Dracula's daughter, and Lugosi was supposed to be in it. Again, screenplay written beforehand, pre-production. That's another reason to believe that they just decided to tell him to go fuck himself. Where he was throwing this huge party and seduces Zaleska, and then takes her, and then the villagers storm the castle because they're tired of him taking all their daughters, and this is how she becomes Dracula's daughter, but then she flees during the whole fight, and then he turns a bunch of people into rats, and then we go to modern day. So, I mean, this is one of the things they had to rewrite because they couldn't afford it to begin with. The author's name is Philip J. Riley, author. I mean, he's an archivist, kind of. And it's called Dracula's Daughter, an Alternate History for Classic Film Monsters. He's got a whole series of them. I'll put the link on our Facebook page, Moviesucktastic.
Okay.
But I just found that aspect interesting, too, how it's a Dracula film that Lugosi's not in, based on a short story from the Dracula novel that isn't really from it. Mm-hmm. Everything's like twice removed for this film. So it intrigues me. I'm sorry.
It entices me.
I am intrigued.
You're going to say something profound.
I'm really not.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode 176 of Moviesucktastic. Woohoo! Where next week we'll be reviewing something. We'll figure it out. We'll let you know.
We'll be reviewing something profound.
Profound. All right, you can go to our website at Moviesucktastic.com. Completely redesigned and redone. Please go to the site. I want you to. It's so
pretty.
It's so pretty. Why are the pretty ones always so dumb? Anyway, you can listen to our show. Yeah, no, it's just something I said. You can listen to the show live every week with the live stream app. 8 o'clock on Thursdays. Join us live, or you can watch the show on the live stream website, livestream.com/Moviesucktastic, or you can listen to the show from Moviesucktastic.com as well, or you can download it. You can go to iTunes and you can do the same thing. You can download it to your favorite MP3 player of your choice, or you can listen to it right there. You can leave us voicemail at 908-514-4470. 908-514-4470. You can email us. The address is themovieguys@Moviesucktastic.com. You can also go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Moviesucktastic. We have a Tumblr page, and that's moviesucktastic.tumblr.com. You can also download the free app for your Android device. 100% free. Everything I said is on there. You should totally get that. And coming soon, very soon, literally within the next week or so, I will have a mobile version of the website for all you iPhone users.
Fuck yeah.
And that about does it. So, Scott, you got any wisdom?
Tokara!
Okay. It's hard to come up with new stuff every week, I know.
That's pretty new. I've never done that before. That's pretty new.
No, I know. I just figured you would have used something from the 2 movies we reviewed.
Oh,
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Too late.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Too late.
A little late.